Hello and welcome to Metawatch for the 6th of October. I'm your host Ryan. I'm going to be talking through the last events in the UK for the last week, some upcoming UK events, talk about some wider meta win rates. I'm going to just briefly touch on LVO because it's such a large calendar event. I think it's worthy of doing so. I'll talk about some of the overperforming teams, underperforming teams, why I think they are where they are, if that makes sense, and just give a few thoughts on that. And then I'll do for subscribers, give a tactical tip at the end. So if you're a subscriber, hang around for that. And then finally, answer a patron priority question set by one of the patrons. So that is what's coming up for the show. So with all that said, let's get into it. Hello and welcome to Turning Point Tactics, the competitive Kill Team 40k YouTube channel focused on giving you the strategies and tactics to seize initiative every turning point. I'm your host Ryan, and I'm here to help give you the tips and tricks to elevate every part of your Kill Team experience. So no matter if you're a casual or a competitive player, there should be something here for you. If you're interested in supporting the channel, there's a few ways you can go about doing so. You can join the Patreon, where you get access to members only Discord, patron priority questions, early access to content, exclusive content, and tournament awards. Or if you find yourself buying Kill Team goodies or hobby supplies, you can use one of our affiliate links in the description below, or discount codes with Crossfire Games and GG Prints. We're always keen to hear your thoughts and feedback, so don't leave that comment box empty. Let us know what you think. Once again, thanks for your support, and with all that said, let's get into it. Okay, so it's the 6th of October, and we're straight in talking about the events that happened last weekend. So there was 2 events that I want to talk about last weekend. They're both actually in the same location in the UK. They were hosted in Sheffield. If there was other events that have gone down that I was not tracking, I can't find it on BCP, so you have to let me know, and I can mention it in a future Metawatch video, but you can put the description or the link to the event below. Anyway, point being is, here we can see the Forge and Fire event, which is pretty cool actually, because the Forge and Fire event is it was alongside the team event, and essentially it was like a beginner focused event for those that necessarily couldn't get into the teams event because the team had a limited capacity, right? But clearly all your mates are going and playing Kill Team. So local TOs are like, well, how do we make sure that we give people the opportunity to then also play and catch up with their mates and do all the social stuff at the same time, right? Because for most of us, like Kill Team is a massively social event. So anyway, it was 16 players alongside the team event, which is really cool. The team event had essentially 20 players. No, that's a lie. It had more than that. It had 24 players. I can't do maths. So these 2 events were happening concurrently, which is awesome. So 3-round event, as I said, had some beginners there, and the whole idea was to try and essentially get people playing the game, learn more about the new edition, new approved ops, as well as the new sort of teams and maps, team world and that sort of stuff as well. So really cool to see, and you can see that there's a few Canoptek Circle Deathwatch players on there, so people are picking up these new teams straight away. What I'll do is I'll focus on the top 3 like I normally do, and just talk through some of those. So Catherine Millar from Yorkshire Kill Team coming in first place with Plague Marines, awesome to see. So this is now the second time that we've seen Plague Marines doing well at events, which kind of goes against the narrative of a lot of people saying that they were dead, or they were sort of, the nerfs were too severe for them to be seen as competitive. Now it is only a three-round event, and looking into these next 3 matchups, like Canoptek Circle, Nemesis Claw and Plague Marines as your next sort of match, does look like it's going to be tough for the Plague Marines, but it's good to see they're being played so well. And one thing I will just quickly touch on is a score of 21, which is incredibly rare to see these days. So a fantastic performance from Catherine Millar, and great to see Plague Marines doing so well. Not to spoil anything coming up, but interesting to see it's from Yorkshire Kill Team as well, which is it's the new naming of what was South Yorkshire Kill Team, rebranded, and it's one of the ones to check out for the local communities on the way up. So Yorkshire Kill Team, Brighton Kill Team I talked about, I think it was last week, I talked about Brighton. These are ones to check out, so pretty cool to see. Now I'm probably going to butcher this, I hope I don't. I think it's Piotr or Peter. Sorry if I've got that wrong. But coming in second, awesome stuff with Nemesis Claw. I think Nemesis Claw are in a pretty solid place. I think they really enjoy the Deathwatch matchup, in my opinion. Having the Melter and having access to Vox Stream is really like strong, right? So they can essentially, with their sort of 6 activations but become 7, stage out and wait out for Deathwatch to move forwards, and then really position their models to be able to get the right models into the right person. So a good example of this is the Screecher, the guy who turns off rerolls and gains lethal, is pretty good into the Aegis Marine, right? Like that's a good matchup for them because essentially he's going to have all crits. So you need to roll a lot of crits as the Aegis to be able to parry out and live. And if you only roll one crit, say, then the first thing that the horrible Screech is going to do is just parry that, and then they're just going to eat you with the rest of their crits, right? Which is really, really, really strong, and also probably gain a Grizzly Trophy or something like this as well, which can potentially make it even harder for you to chew through them. But they can sort of choose these matchups, right? And then combine that with, as I said, the Melter Gun, who can, again, position, potentially rush forward into an area where they can move forward and delete a Marine. And that Marine is not necessarily going to be protected because, essentially, you can go, I'm going to move this guy and get him to safety. No, Vox Scream, he'll stay where he is, do someone else first, and then you get your kill, right? That can be really painful if you're not careful with Deathwatch and you move up on turning point 2 and they get that last activation, they've already killed one of your Marines and they get to do it again, right? Because at that point, that's game, right? If you lost 2 Marines at the start of turning point 3, that's game. So I think that's a really favourable matchup for Nemclaw in my personal opinion. But what's been people's experience of that? Is that less true? Do people find that maybe the tack-up choices are a little bit harder because security and infiltrate, seek and destroy and infiltration might be a bit difficult? But equally, I think it's just as difficult for Deathwatch back on the other side. I say Deathwatch and talk about Deathwatch because clearly I'm obsessed with that team. It's all I'm playing at the moment, but also because I think they're so popular in the meta, right? So therefore, it makes a big deal. But yes, I think Nemclaw's in a good place, and it's great to see someone doing so well with them in Forge and Fire. And in third place, not a big surprise for me, is Canoptek Circle. So when we go into talk about the wider meta win rates, we'll focus a little bit more on Canoptek Circle. But I think it's a fantastic meta for them. I think they are. I don't know if they have a bad matchup, if I'm honest, which kind of tells you everything you need to know. But I know a lot of teams are very, very scared when they see Canoptek Circle. The ability to do huge damage to single targets with the banishment weapon, the ability to heal at a somewhat ridiculous rate versus horde teams with the counteract heals and commands and that sort of stuff, means that a lot of teams just simply don't have the damage to be able to kill these guys. So if you position them correctly, they have so many layers of protection that you can end up wasting a lot of resources. And whilst you're doing that, they're just killing you, right? And most of the players that I talk to, when they talk about Canoptek, they say that they give up maybe 1 or 2 kill grades a tournament, and that's crazy, right? If you play this team correctly, Ben from Battle Brothers Tabletop was talking about on his podcast, I highly recommend you check him out. So if you're interested, go see Kill Team Casuals. They're incredible to listen to. They are one of the best. Just sort of turn it on, vibe out for an hour and a bit, and then and have fun. So anyway, I'm off topic. But yeah, he was basically saying how he doesn't give up kill rate very much at all, right? Because they can castle up so effectively, they can heal so effectively, they can reanimate with the bug, and that bug can be so far away that you're not actually exposed at any point. And they can do some really crazy stuff with the Geomancer, being able to loot points at range, do retrieval really well, these sorts of things. So that you have to come and engage with them, which is what they want you to do. And when you do that, you're unlikely to kill anything, but they will kill the things that you have sent forwards. So I think Canoptek are in a really strong place, and it's awesome to see David Clark coming third place, undefeated, with his Canoptek Circle. So congratulations to all 3 of you guys for playing so well in Forged in Fire. Next up, we'll talk about the 4 Cities tournament itself. So this is essentially the 4 local communities in the north have come together and they want to run a teams event, and they're teams of 6, right? And the idea being that essentially every year they're going to compete for the sort of the golden teapot, and that's how it's going to be run. So I was obviously playing in Notts Kill Team, but we had Yorkshire Kill Team playing Deadwood, which is like the Manchester sort of scene. There's like two scenes in Manchester. One's like the aggressive northern meta, which is like some of the older guard, I'd say, and then a lot of them are now moved into to Deadwood. But if that's what it means essentially, is it's like the new Manchester scene. They run a lot of events out of Stockport. Really good for any bunch of dudes. And some really good players as well, which we'll come on to in a bit. And then Lincoln Kill Team, which is my like other local club. So it's a weird one for me because like I'm based in Nottinghamshire technically, but Sanctuary is further away than like Imps, where like Lincoln Kill Team run out of. So a lot of my practice games at the moment have been at Imps, but the main, I say my like where my team is at Sanctuary. Anyway, that's enough about me. So what you can see here, 3-round event, 6 players per team. They did the pairings with essentially 2 different mission types. You broke down into teams of 3 and then paired up within those teams on different maps and pairings. So it was a really interesting way of doing it, not like the WTC, but like a separate pairing and matchup mechanic. But still quite fun to try and figure that out and put people into the correct pairings. I think I preferred the depth of thought because, like, I think this was quite quick, which is quite good, I guess, for a casual tournament. Because if you do it quickly, you're like, yep, I'm going to put 3 of you on this, 3 of you on this, and then you're already really making a decision between like, right, who am I pairing in first? And it's like, yeah, I'm going to pair this, and then the rest of the pairing sort of themselves out quite quickly. Whereas WTC, you have a bit longer with that, with the back and forth. But yeah, awesome to see YKT doing so well. I will quickly see if I can I bring up the, no, that's my stuff. Can I show you what they brought? Yes. Sweet. So, this was like when we read it, quite a scary roster of 6 players. So, Canoptek Circle being played by Adam, Harrison playing Hierotech Circle, so double Necrons, which I think potentially is the best teams of the game at the moment. Johnny on Exaction Squad, Ryan Worthington on Vespid Stingwings, Thomas Shaw on Nemesis Claw, we've heard from Tom Shaw a few times, and Tom Robertson on Sanctified. So both Harrison Law and Tom Robertson were in the WTC teams for the UK, so really strong players. And we've seen from previous events Ryan and Tom winning stuff as well. So like this is a pretty strong roster with, I think, a really strong selection of teams. I'll quickly just show you the other ones. So I was also on Deathwatch. You'll be shocked to hear. Mike was running Canoptek Circle, the new niceness. Matt was running his Void Dance Troop. The other Matt was running Legionary. Johnny was on Tempest Aquilans, and James was on Brew Brothers. Lincoln Kill Team had Blazer Cane being run by Tyrese. Simon was on Vespid Stingwings. I think that was probably like a hard pick for him because I think he secretly deep down really wanted to play Deathwatch. I know you, Simon. Rob was obviously running Nemclaw. He plays Nemclaw a lot and is actually quite terrifying with them because he's like the only person I know that can like 21 and 1 someone like multiple games. It's gross. Patrick running Canoptek Circle. John Bellamy on his Goremongers. And then Dan Winter running Deathwatch. And then finally for the Deadwood team, you had Ryan Molson running Sanctifiers, Pete Slam bag running Deathwatch, Ollie running his Tempest Aquilans, Jack running Wrecker Crew, Connor running Commandos, and Ben running Void Dancer Troop. So again, like some interesting picks here. Like I wouldn't expect to see Commandos in that. Like Double Orcs is particularly interesting from the Deadwood guys. But so a really interesting like blend of teams. As I said, it ends up being really good for Yorkshire Kill Team. They won all 3 of their games. I'm not quite sure where this shows the draw. This should be like essentially a loss because we lost into Yorkshire, then we won on X2, and the rest of the guys, you can see the stats there. The one thing I'm going to just show you because it's amusing to me is the strength of Ryan. So in the top 5, all the Ryans appeared. So Ryan Molson running his Sanctifiers, top 5. Ryan Worthington on his Vespid Stingwings, top 5. And I was on my Death Watch as well, sneaking into the top 5. Which is like, I just find it amusing. It's like the really strong performance from Team Ryan. I think next year we have to just have a 5-man team of Ryan. So if you're a Ryan out there in the UK and you're really good at Kill Team and you want to join the team, let me know. We'll put together a squad. but yeah, so that was that. So congratulations to, as I said, to Yorkshire Kill Team for winning. It was great fun, and congratulations to all these players here who went undefeated. So Adam with his Canoptek Circle going undefeated with all 3 games. Tom with his Sanctifiers going undefeated all 3 games. Ryan with his Vespid undefeated, and Ryan with his Sanctifiers undefeated. So it's still showing that there is some strength there with Sanctifiers, particularly in the new meta. And as I said, I'm not surprised to see Canoptek Circle up there. Vespid is an interesting one, but there was Beta Decima in play, so I wonder if he was being pushed into the particular matchups that you wanted to see. Cool. That was the events that have been and gone, right? So I now want to just quickly highlight what is coming up. So you can go to this website here. You go to talkify.com/Killteam events. It's in the video description below, and essentially it will just show you on a pinboard all of the events that are coming up in the UK, and there's loads of them on there, right? And so is that all of them? No, there's even more, right? There's so many events, which is incredible and awesome to see. And this means you can plan your life out a little bit, right? Because you can go on this, you can click on it, and it'll take you through to the BCP link. So this is an incredible resource, and it's all about trying to promote people going to more tournaments and show people what's going on locally and or nationally, right? So I'll just talk through a few of them so people are aware. So obviously coming up next is the Cambridge Kill Team crew doing their October event. So if you're local to Cambridge or you want to travel to Cambridge, I think it might be sold out, or it's pretty close to being sold out. So you might be worth contacting the TO to see if there's any spare tickets, because that should be awesome. It's one of their sort of opening events. The Brighton guys are running an event the following weekend, as well as the Notts dudes. So that's Brighton and Sutton and Ashfield in Mansfield. Sheffield then have an event on the 25th. Norwich are running their events in November. There's another team tournament in November as well. Concurrently to that is the Edinburgh guys running a Killteam 3, and then we're into end of November and December where we start seeing the rest of the other events. So check this out. As I said, if it's easier for you to just go and look at them sequentially, they have that option for you to be able to do it sequentially. If you prefer it in a calendar format, you can look via month and you can see all the ones in a calendar format, right? So it's as easy as that. All you have to do is go and do that. If you're a TO or you're running an event, you want to get it added, there's a little form up here. You can submit your event, and it will get populated on there as well. So that's just something to see, because it's pretty awesome. Okay, so we're going to now talk about the wider meta and the wider meta win rates. So obviously I'm heading over to pretentiousplastic.ops.com, which is a site put together by Smiles, Lies and Gunfire. He's an awesome dude that basically collates all of this stuff in the US every week and puts it out on this website, which is how I get to see it. And he uses BCP data. It's also shown on Can You Roll a Crit stat shows as well. That's where he gets his data from. So, but essentially, it's updated weekly, and it just gives you a really good indication of what's going on in the global meta. So, I'm just going to touch on like the top 5, because I think it's worth doing so. And I'll touch on the bottom 5. I'll just give my thoughts on essentially where we're at with that. Cool. So, in first place with a 65% win rate is Canoptek Circle. Now, when this team first came out, their win rate was below Deathwatch, and my prediction was that they're going to take a little bit longer for people to learn and understand, right? And essentially, I thought, they're a complicated team, but when people get them and actually understand them, I think this team is busted. Like, I think they are so strong, and I think they heal too much. Like, so. As a team goes, I think they are like really problematic for horde teams, because if this team is counteracting, the way their command works and the way their heal works essentially means that they're getting like so much additional free like wounds. The way the expendable things work as well means they get more wounds because they can regenerate their models each turn. So each time you kill one and they bring it back, they're potentially getting those wounds back. So this team, like, although it looks like it's like, oh, it's eight operatives. It can feel like you're playing against a 10 operative team, and then it can actually feel like you're playing against a 10 operative team that all of which seem to have a ridiculous amount of wounds. Because let's say you leave a warrior on one wound remaining and they heal it for 3d3, almost certainly is going to go back to full health, like crazy. So yeah, Canoptek are like ridiculously strong, and I think they're going to be problematic. I think they'll be problematic for a while, and I'm not really too sure how a lot of teams can interact and beat them. You need to have a lot of damage to be able to do so. So Deathwatch is probably like one of the teams that has the most amount of damage potential, and I don't think it's enough to be able to deal with this team, which tells you something that you need to know, right? Like it's pretty well. So Canoptek, I think, are in a fantastic place in the meta. They're definitely like an S tier team. They're definitely going to be, I think, winning a lot of tournaments for a little while. So yeah, 65% for them. Next up is Gelapox at 59% win rate. I'm not too sure if they've played more events or not since the last time. I haven't checked to see the data, but they sort of seem to be hovering pretty consistently around this this level now. Only 87 games played, so this seems like a pretty small sample size, and could be quite easily skewed by a good player running them, right? So I don't, I personally haven't seen how well this team performs, and I don't know if that's like, I don't really know why, right? Essentially, is my hot take, but they seem to be doing well, and they seem to be holding their place at the top of the meta. Void Dancers are a fantastic team, and I think they actually really, in my opinion, like the new approved ops, being so mobile, having access to like a really good selection attack ops is great for them. Retrieval's great, flank's great if they want to use it in that way because they're 3 APL and it forces people into their threat range. But I think you just stick with retrieval personally, because you're 3 APL. You're charging onto a point, you're usually killing someone, and if there's no targets around, well, you can just take that retrieval token now and it gets you guaranteed VP, which is pretty awesome for a team to be able to do. So they've gone from, I think, a strong team in the previous meta to a strong team now. They haven't really ever struggled with APL efficiency in my mind, so being able to do retrieval is great for them. Next up in fourth place, Deathwatch, 56.6%. Really strong performance from Deathwatch and a huge meta representation, right? So 500 games played already, which is just incredible. Like, there's 7,000 games in this data set, and 500 of them are being played by Deathwatch, which is crazy. I think Deathwatch are, again, I think they're in a really strong place. I think they have such flexibility in the team, being able to like perfectly choose your operatives to select, like, in this matchup I want these things, is so strong, right? So I think Deathwatch are I think in a great place and they're really fun to play. This matchup against Canoptek I don't like with them. I don't think Void Dance is a good matchup for them. I don't think Nemclaw is a good matchup for them. I am worried about Hunterclade, to be honest, and I'm worried about Hyrotech, and I guess Wormblade as well. So interestingly, like in this list of like things, and I know not all of them are there, but like I think they have some tough matchups that I'm worried about. But against Hordes, like the ability to double counteract feels really like fun and engaging. So I think they're like an A tier team, maybe an S tier team, and I think they're going to be staying at the top of the meta for a while if played correctly. And I think they're a really deep team for people to get involved in as well, which is what a lot of people I think are missing out on. This is I've been thinking about them for a while now, and I think there is only one auto include on the team, which is the Watch Sergeant, and the rest of them I think are all options, and the only two that I don't think are competitively viable is the Horde Slayer and the Bombard. So those are the only two that I'm not convinced on, and I actually think they would be viable if you removed the APL, the second APL requirement to shoot their weapons twice, because as it stands, the Breacher is just better. He essentially has the same shooting profile into most targets, and can do it more APL efficiently. So I think if you removed that from those two Gravis operatives, then I think every single operative then has an amazing chance. I don't think they'll do that because that's essentially a buff, and the team don't necessarily need buffs. But I'm just saying those are the two that will not be seen on a competitive table because they're just not as good as the alternative, which is the Breacher. But they're enjoying the meta. And Sanctifiers, I think the new security tag ups actually are pretty good for these guys. I don't think that you should be playing Martyrs with them, but I think they can do Plant Banner pretty well on some maps if they can like cast up in a certain area, because they can just essentially dominate and just hang around in that location. and really sort of threat saturate you if you try and get involved with it. And then Envoy as well is really good for them because the missionaries are able to move so far forward so easily. And then you always have like spare bods that can essentially move up quite quickly at the end, lead the procession, and not die generally. So I think they're in a good place when it comes to tac ops in the new approved ops. I don't think they particularly like some of these matchups at the top of the meta, but I think they do well into a lot of the other ones below. So, for instance, against Deathwatch, once your melter gun is dead, I'm not too sure if you have the killing potential to kill Deathwatch necessarily. So you need your melter gun to do work in that matchup. Void Dancers, it's a bit of a weird one. Like when Void Dancers are charging you, they can actually get some kills off quite effectively against the 7 wound dudes. They struggle against the missionaries. So they have to be careful how they go about doing those sorts of things and those engagements, but I think they can do it if they pair it up properly. So if the fusion pistol and the neurodisruptor go into the missionaries, you're probably okay. Whereas, if you're doing standard warriors, it's a bit harder. Can't talk to Gellerpox and Canoptek. I don't think they have the damage potential to scratch Canoptek, in my opinion. I think the melter gun will shoot a bug. It will do at best 18 damage, probably less. And then your melter gun will die, and the bugs will heal up all those wounds again. So I don't know how that. I personally don't believe that match is at all favourable for Sanctifiers. So that's the top of the meta. That's the top 5 teams, right? And people are generally quite interested in the bottom teams, which I'm just going to talk about now. So Kasrkin down on a 35% win rate. So really struggling, not really being played much. Only 62 games. I think that's like an indication that they're not seeing the spice. And it's a bit of a shame really because they're really cool models. And there was a point last edition where this team was really popular. So I think a lot of people have this team. They just don't want to play with that team. And I think that sends a message, I think, more than anything else. People just don't think that they're viable. Deathcore on a 35% win rate. Again, similar sort of thing. They're on the way out. 120 games get played. But, I think we're probably not going to fix Deathcore before they leave the meta. So I think the fact that they're not going to be competitive is kind of expected. And then into the last at the bottom, you got Pathfinders at 35.8%, Exaction at 41.83%, and Scouts at 42.5%. So again, like Pathfinders, they're on the way out. I don't think that they have some ski matchups. They're not particularly popular. And then Exaction and Scouts, I think, need some help. So generally, with the last dates they came out, it hit a lot of the top teams. Sorry. It didn't really give much help to the bottom teams. So I just want to quickly talk about what I think the teams at the bottom need in these 5, and just give my opinion on them. I'm not going to talk about Pathfinders or Deathcore because, as I said, they're on the way out. So I don't think it would be helpful to buff them before they go, because they're not designed to be competitive at that point. But if we start with Kasrkin, so I think Kasrkin have a few problems, right? So one is they have some really bad ski matchups. So into Goremongers and that sort of thing, they just don't have the sort of killing potential to get around the damage reduction. Against goats, they don't have the ability to deal with a frenzied model very, very easily. They can make it frenzy, but then they can't kill it after that, and then they lose operatives, right? So their killing potential and their double kill potential is where they really struggle. Combine that with the fact that they have no melee, like they don't have any melee in general. That's another significant weakness. And combine that with all of their ploys are just a little bit bad. And I don't really know why. So I think their data cards are pretty cool, but they just need a little bit of something. They need some secret sauce added to make it better. So I've got some suggestions. I think you could take the existing ploys and make them better. So like covered retreat, for instance. I think if that worked by letting the person who does the fullback move, fullback for 1, that would give you the option to have double shoot potential into melee teams. Now, that being said, that kind of implies that you're going to survive a melee against some of those teams. I don't think it's going to happen. But like hypothetically, let's say you're against Goremongers and they strap phase charge you, it gives you an ability then to like maybe survive that. One of your guys falls back, the other guy then shoots, then you get to shoot but with the other guy and you might kill a Goremonger, which will be pretty cool, right? So that's a CP option to be able to kill a Goremonger. Is better than no CP options to do nothing. Things like Give No Ground, I think, should just be +1 APL. Like, Tempested Aquilins have a far better version of Give No Ground, and I don't understand why Give No Ground doesn't really work the same way. So you could just make that +1 APL control, and I think that would be straight up better, and it might get some use. Siege Initiative should be after you roll the dice, right? Like, before you see dice being rolled, spending a CP preemptively, which you might just waste, just feels like a massive whiff. Particularly now with the reroll initiative card being in play and all that sort of stuff. Like, that's supposed to be a cool ability for them. I think that should be after rolling, and that'll make it straight up better again. And I think you could add ploys, like firefight ploys. Two options for this is what I've got. One is being able to use a ranged weapon in melee when fighting. So like during your activation, if you're fighting, you can shoot someone. I think that would be good. You get rid of the special rules that don't affect all that sort of stuff, but you can then essentially have a method of killing someone in melee effectively, which would again give you a double kill potential with 3 APL, or just do a straight up double shoot versus scanned operative ploy, right? So you can then have that scanned ability, have that, and if someone is scanned, you can do a double shoot against them. I think that would work pretty well. So like 1 CP options there to like, again, just increase that killing potential and double kill potential of the team, or like focus down a hard target and get rid of it. All of that is going to require CP, and I think the team should just have a ability to generate CP, where if the Kasrkin Sergeant spends an AP, they can generate an additional CP. I think that, like, the team needs a lot, and they need to be exciting for people. I think if you gave them all of that, people would be excited about their team and would probably be interested to play them. I think if you give them less than that, I don't see it helping a lot of the time. But unless there is a route to I can kill Goremongers and I can kill Felgor, I don't think this team's going to get picked up. And against some of these harder to crack elites, like, they ain't going to get picked up either. So that's my 2 cents on that team. Exaction Squad. I think Exaction Squad also need a little bit of help, but not too much. Like, they're one of those teams where it's like you don't want to overbuff them, but they're close to being good, but not quite there yet. So a few things that I think is going to help them straight away. Against elites, giving them the ability to use their special ammo twice per turning point means to get more access to that piercing 1. So it's just going to help force through a bit more damage, which I think would be good for them. So yeah, give them special ammo twice per turning point. I think things like some of their operatives could just do with a little bit of like a little power buff. So the Cyber Mastiff, I think, should hit on 3s. Like, I don't really know why the dog's really bad at grabbing someone and eating someone when other dogs hit on 3s. So just buff that a little bit. I think personally at the moment, I don't see a reason why you take the Cyber Mastiff and Leash Master over Subductors. Like, I can either have 2 Subductors or I can have a dog and a Leash Master. I just think the Subductors are better. So make those operatives better, in my opinion, and then they'll be taken, or be better when they are taken. And same for the Revelatum. Like, I think the Revelatum kind of gets dropped a little bit, and I think that's because their killing potential is a lot less than than other operatives. So adding dev wounds to the Revelatum's pistol, I think, would be a pretty cool thing. It doesn't need to be a crazy amount, just like 2 dev wounds would just also help force you some more damage and make that operative a little bit more killy, in my opinion. Given that, I think the team's in a good place. I don't think they're far off what they need to be, but I think that would really help them. And then finally, Scouts, right? So Scouts, again, down at 42.5%. I think this team just needs more APL. I think they have some really cool abilities, and I just think they need the APL to be able to do it. So the options that I think you have, one is the Tactical Maneuver, which is essentially a strat ploy once per game to give one operative an extra APL. I think you can make that every turning point, and it wouldn't break the team. Like, I think it's still telegraphed. It's still like, hey, this guy's going to get an extra APL, and you can still kill that operative, and you can still get around it. But it would just help them unlock the ability to do double shoots, all that sort of stuff they need to be able to do, and be a bit more APL efficient. Or, if that's too strong a buff, you could just make it so you can allow multiple selections of it when it comes to the scouting step. You get 6 scouting options, I think it's 6. So you could let it be taken up to 4 times. and if someone really wanted to, they could spend 4 of their scouting options giving their team more APL. I think personally it's a little bit like harsh, but if they're worried about scouts becoming the new crazy meta breaking team, then that would be a small buff. See how that works, and then you can always go to once per turning point after that. And to be fair, I think you could do that with a lot of scouting options. Like, I don't think you want to give them a 10th operative. I think keeping them at 9 is nice, and it's kind of like cool for their themes. I think lean into that scouting step and make it better. So things like diversion, which is if you're within 6 inches of a board edge, you can subtract 1 from someone's APL. I think making that again like once per turning point, so that people are then like aware of like, oh, like actually this is a thing, it is going to impact me, could be good, but it might be a little bit of a toxic gameplay. But hey, that'll make it more impactful. And the designate target, which is like basically give a model balance for your whole team. Again, I think just make that a strat gambit. So rather than doing it as a select someone at the start of the game, in the strategic phase, you go, yeah, it's gonna be that guy's gonna be the target for this turning point, and I get balanced against him. And then you do it that way, and then that means you get essentially 4 instances of balanced on different models, which again helps versus like elite teams. So that's what I would do personally. As a sort of general rule of thumb, I really hope the next balanced data slate is the buff slate. I much prefer that to the nerf slate. I think there is like, if you look at the teams at the top, I think the only team that needs to be hit is Canoptek, in my opinion. I think the rest of these guys can all probably like just exist as they are, and to solve these guys being better, I would just bring up everyone else. Like, so probably from like this point down, I would just give all these guys buffs. Like, and I would try to do it in like intelligent ways. That means that people are more excited to play them, and then hopefully you see these games significantly increase with people wanting to play them. But that's personally what I would like to see, because I think it will get more players in. We'll get more players interested in wanting to play these teams, and I think it'll be better for the meta. But what's your guys' thoughts? Like, do you think that we actually need to just go through and just aggressively nerf all these guys, or do you think that buffing would be better? What would you be happier to see? For me, I like buffs more than I like the nerfs, but maybe someone else has a different opinion. Okay, finally, on just stat stuff and tournaments, I'll just quickly cover off the Las Vegas Open. The reason being is it's one of the largest events that the Killteam community has, with 9 rounds. I think it's 3 each day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, which is quite a lot. Now, I didn't go this year, but obviously a whole bunch of people did. I think it's 100, I want to say 18. 116, or this guy didn't play, so 115 players, which is awesome to see, right? Like that's a really good size event, and 9 rounds is a lot. So I'll just go through the top 3, because again I think that's the ones that people are interested in. So starting in 3rd place, Jason, who I'm pretty sure Jason was the guy on Warp Coven I played at Worlds. This is a different Jason. I think it is. If it is, really good player. I hope it is. Otherwise, I'll assume it is. And he must be a good player, because he came 3rd running Canoptek Circle, losing only twice. I think one of them was a mirror match, and doing really, really well. So I talked a little bit about Canoptek Circle already. I think they're in a really strong place. I don't want to detract from any of these performances, because they're not an easy team to learn. So therefore, you need to like go out and learn all their tricks and that sort of stuff. But I think they are like in an incredibly strong position in the meta right now. I don't think there's many teams that can compete with them, in my opinion. So seeing 2 in the top 3 does not surprise me, because you need to have a significant skill difference, I think, to be able to beat Canoptek in a 1v1, in my opinion. So that's just me. I haven't played them, so maybe I'm talking absolute nonsense. But they are a very difficult team to learn. So clearly Jason has gone out and learned them very quickly, because I think they've only been out 2 weeks, 3 weeks or something. So like being able to pick them up that quickly, learn all the rules, and learn that team and go to a tournament for the first time with such a complicated team and perform so well with them is awesome to see. So congratulations to Jason for coming 3rd at LVO. Massive achievement for being able to do that and learn a team so quickly. then it's Jeshua, the kid. A member of Kill Team. I think it's like the whole like Kelly family is like Kill Team obsessed, which is just awesome to see because they have great energy and they're great dudes. And running Raveners, right? So showing that Raveners are very much a very competitive part of the meta with a single loss and a single draw, and then 7 wins, right? Now Raveners, I think, are a really interesting team because when they're played really well, and I assume Jeshua plays them really well, hence why he's second. They do feel like crazy strong. Like on certain missions and maps, you just think to yourself, wow, this team has a lot. And I think for them, Canoptek is probably the difficult matchup because I'm not sure they have the killing potential if they're on the Matrix. But yeah, when you see them sort of use their prime ability correctly, so a lot of people I think throw away the prime quite early on. But with like a ride into sight, you can pop up on an objective, claim it, loot it, wherever it is, and then disappear underground again. And you can do that each turning point, right? And it means that you get essentially a single activation to be able to kill that prime. Otherwise, he disappears. And if you try and like hold him up and tie him up in combat or whatever, or put lots of operatives onto the objective, then instead they're going to pop up and they're just going to kill those operatives and disappear anyway. Probably with someone else underground, which is again like really difficult to play with, right? Because you don't want to sit there on their tunnel, but you have to go and interact with them. And if they have the Tremor Scythe underground, it means that you can't be too far away to interact with them, otherwise the Tremor Scythe is going to come out and then kill you anyway. So Raveners, awesome team, and great to see them doing so well, piloted so well by Jeshua. And then a Brit actually went over there and won the whole event. Some of you may know him from a YouTube channel that's somewhat quite popular when it comes to Kill Team. Can You Roll a Crit? So congratulations to John Reese, going undefeated for all 9 games. Incredible performance with Canoptek Circle. So you know, being able to win all 9 is really impressive, and it's a testament to player skill and team strength. So that was the LVO. As I said, there is going to be other YouTubers covering this in way more detail and have probably a lot more to say about the event. So go check out their individual channels. As I said, I didn't go. I usually just cover the UK events, but I just thought it'd be worthy to touch on it because Squad Games put on some great tournaments. And when it's like one of the top ones, obviously it's worth just quickly mentioning. So that is all of the general Metawatch data for this episode. So what I'm going to go into now is a tactical tip for subscribers and the Patreon priority question. So if you are not a subscriber, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next week. If you would like to get the tactical tip, all you have to do is hit subscribe, and you teach can get it, and hopefully it's of some use. Obviously I jest, but it really does help out the channel, and I massively appreciate it. And we're on a massive growth trajectory at the moment, so hopefully we can sort of become one of the larger Kill Team channels, and that means that I can promote more events and I can get more people out there, more listening, and hopefully we get more people involved in Kill Team, which it's all about. So all that said, let's get into the tactical tip. So I just wanted to quickly like simplify for a lot of people how I think the initiative cards works when you're trying to figure out your likelihood of winning something. So firstly, let's talk about the initiative cards. I actually think they're a fantastic change. I think a lot of the people who have talked about it, that they look at it like it's overly complicated, but actually the way it works is like really clever in its design, right? Because if you guys are, when you're rolling initiative, if you're winning back and forth and it's alternating initiatives, then the cards essentially have no impact, right? Which is kind of perfect, right? Like if you get to go first on turning point 2, you get to choose, say, and on turning point 3, your opponent does. On turning point 4, it's still like around a 50-50, which is like kind of cool. Whereas if you keep losing, then eventually it becomes guaranteed. And that's really cool, right? Because like there's so many games I've had where you know that you've lost the game because you couldn't get a VP because you couldn't get initiative. Like you're playing on loot, for instance, and you're playing against Canoptek Circle, and the first thing they do each turning point is just loot 2 different points by the Geomancer looting one with a token and commanding someone to loot a second one, whatever. Right, like, and you therefore know that you're never going to be able to get enough like VP. But if you got initiative on one turning point, you could suddenly do it, right? But you just can't. So something like that, for example, is really frustrating if you're playing a competitive game. And the way the system is designed is it means that you can't have that all the game. But equally, if it's back and forth, it's alternating, then it evens out. So like, I actually think it's really like, I think personally, I think it's a really clever design for initiative system. It takes a bit of getting used to, but when you're used to it, you're like, oh, this is really good, and it's really like well thought out from a competitive point of view. So that's just the like my general overview of the initiative system. The tactical tip is how you think about those cards, right? So for those that don't know, it's not a coin flip. A lot of people, when they think of initiative, they're like, oh, it's 50-50. It's not 50-50, right? So it's essentially always 58, 42, like, because someone wins on draws, right? So the first 50-50 you have is that first dice roll where you then roll off, and if you get the same result, you re-roll, right? That's a 50-50. The rest of them are not 50-50. So then people think like, oh, okay, well, I have like a re-roll, or I have a +1, or I have whatever, right? +2, +3. Now, a lot of people, they sort of go, oh, I've got a +2, but you have a +1 and a re-roll. Therefore, I think, you have more chance to win. And it's not actually how that works. So like, I've done on my Patreon a really detailed chart which shows you like all the different potential like instances of how it works. So if you want to get into the deep dive, then you can go on the Patreon. You can look at that image and it shows you. But for people that want to just have a quick reference, which I think a lot of people want, then this is where it becomes easier. If you think of each of the cards as being equal to +1, and whoever has breaks ties as being equal to +1, then you can kind of figure out like who has advantage in that instance or not, right? So let's say your opponent has a reroll and +1, and you have a +2, but you break ties, right? The +1 cancels out with a +1. The reroll cancels out your other +1. So those kind of go away, and the break ties counts as +1. So you're one up essentially if you're likely to win, which means that you're on a 58% chance to win, right? So that's kind of like the way to think about it. Now, it's not exactly correct, and I know there's going to be some people out there now furiously typing at the keyboard saying, no, Ryan, actually it's 57% or whatever. I know, but like as a rule of thumb, if you just view each one as being +1, you're not far off when it comes to the maths. Because understanding like your likelihood of winning initiative is really important when it comes to like game sense, right? Like a lot of people going into turning point 3 or whatever, or turning point 4 going, I'm guaranteed this, and you think, actually, you're not guaranteed. Like you're not likely to get it. So they play a really aggressive move, thinking they're going to get initiative, and they lose it. Or, conversely, maybe they play a really conservative move, and they go, I'll keep my multi-gun safe because I might lose initiative. And you go, man, you got +5. Like you need to be throwing your multi-gun out there. Like, and that's just my opinion. So, generically, the quick, short answer for tactical tip is, if you consider each of those cards, the reroll and who breaks ties, as being worth +1, you can then figure out who has the likelihood of winning based on stats. Again, not guaranteed because it all changes every time, but that's a rule of thumb. So I hope that's useful and helps people understand like a quicker way of understanding the initiative. That was it for the subscribers. Thank you very much. If you enjoyed it, consider dropping a like because that's helpful. If you listen to that and you weren't a subscriber, that's pretty naughty. I think you should probably just drop a subscribe to make up for it personally. Finally, we'll do a Patreon priority question. So for those who don't know, I run a Patreon for £3 a month. You can join up where I chuck random stuff on there. I let patrons ask questions. I answer them live on the show on a weekly basis, and I try and like pre-release videos early on there as well. So anyway, the question that came in for this one is, I really enjoy the competitive side of the game and playing in tournaments, but with family and work commitments, I struggle to get practice games. Is there a way to still improve, be that with solo games or something similar? Sweet. So this is, I think, a really common problem for a lot of people, right? Because I know I don't have kids, right? But my brother has 2 kids, and I watched his ability to play Killteam go from, wanting to play most weeks sort of thing to most months to like I get to play every couple of months, whatever. Because life gets in the way, right? And particularly if you're busy at work and all that sort of stuff, right? Like life gets in the way, and your ability to play Killteam becomes way reduced. So I can't give, I guess, specific advice to your individual circumstances, but what I can do is give some generic advice that I think's that's useful, and it's the way that I use my time effectively to be able to prepare for tournaments, and hopefully it helps people do the same. So those who don't know, I am in the process of tracking all my games, and I track them on this Excel spreadsheet. And essentially, I run through all the various games I have. I track all the data. I track all the maps, the missions, and the factions I play against, and the tack ups that I use. So this for me is how I'm going to practice with purpose. So you might not be able to get down to your club particularly often, right? So let's say you get to go down to your club once a month, right? And you get to play a tournament once every 2 months, and maybe you only get to play two games. Well, if you can go to your club and you see the players that are there, and like for instance on my list right now, so I'm practicing with Deathwatch, I haven't played into say Canoptek Circle here, right? So I haven't played into Canoptek Circle, I haven't played into Inquisition, whatever it is. I look at this list of teams, and I'm like, all right, when I get to the club, I really want to play into one of these teams that I haven't played before. And maybe someone says that they're looking for a game, and they're going, oh, I've got my Battleclade, or I've got my Hand of the Archon. And I say, oh, mate, can I play against your Battleclade? That'd be really useful for me for my practice. And then if they say yes, I then get to actually practice against a team I haven't played against before and develop those tactics with this specific team, right? And then the same can be said about maps, right? So right now, when I go back to my whatever games that I'm going to play at the local store, if I'm setting up a table to play games on, I'm going to deliberately set up, say, Volcus 4. Or I'm going to deliberately set up a Tomb World map that I haven't played. Or I'm going to deliberately set up one of the Gallowdark maps that I haven't played, right? Because, for instance, I've ended up playing a lot of squad games recently, but not the rest. I don't actually know why this is not working. There's an issue with the formatting, because this should be 18. Anyway, but like a third of my games are on squad games. So like, I know that like actually what I need to do is probably play more Tomb World. So when I'm going in and choosing which table to set up, I'm going to make sure I play Tomb World, but not one I've already played. I'm going to play a different one, right? Same with Crit Ops, right? So how many games have you played? Have you played each of these? Like, how many times have I played Reboot? Only once. Okay, cool. Let's play Reboot a bit more. Let's play, Energy Cells a bit more. Like, Transmission, that sort of stuff. Let's make sure I understand these games so that my sort of disposition of games remains consistent. It also gives me a larger data set to figure out what I'm doing with my primary up, which helps inform me when it comes to tournament games as to what I'm going to do. Same can be said for tac ops and whatever else, right? So clearly at the moment, I'm sort of heavy focusing on these 3 tac ops, but I can actually go out my way to actually try and play them, understand them, and like make my practice make sense, basically. So that's like the first point, right? Is like when you're practicing, I think you want to practice with purpose. So if you go to your like local kill team night, you want to be able to say, hey, like what teams people are bringing. Okay, I'm going to choose a team that I haven't seen against yet, or whatever. I'm going to play on a map I haven't played before. I'm going to play a tac up that I haven't got experience with on a crit or whatever, right? So like you're deliberately focusing on practice so that the first time you experience a team, a map, a mission, an attack op isn't in a tournament game, right? Like that's your ideal scenario, and that's how if you're tracking it, you then know what you want to do. Whereas often I see people when they turn up to an event, they just go, I'll play whatever, and they go, I'll just roll the dice for which map I want to set up. Oh, I'll set up map 1, and they end up doing 69 games on map 1, and they never play map 4, and then suddenly they go to a tournament and they're on map 4, and they go, oh, I don't even know what this map is. I never thought about it before, right? So that's my first thing. So like my advice initially is practice with purpose, and track your data is another one. Cool. So next is if you can't do that because you still don't have the ability to go to a local club or whatever, like and TTS isn't available because that's the other option, right? So if you can't do TTS and you can't go to a local club, and the only way you're getting reps is in tournaments, then you need a different route, right? Because you're not able to practice. So for me, that's where you have to go into theoretical. You can do like what people refer to as like Sad Hammer, where you play at home, which is I think a perfectly valid option, where you can set those games up that you would do normally, and you play both sides. just to understand the sort of the different tac ops and that sort of thing that you want to do, and how teams might play against you. But let's say you don't have time for that, so you don't have time to be able to set up and play your own games. Then I think you should use your like commute time or your like free time on the toilet, whatever, to read the rules of a team and analyze the matchup. So, for instance, with Deathwatch, I use it as that's what I'm doing at the moment, right? So I clearly haven't played against a whole bunch of those teams. So I want to look at those teams, understand their breakpoints, understand like what sort of rules they have, understand what operatives I want to do, and almost like play through the matchup in my head and think about what I would take, right? And you can kind of keep it generic, and then you can kind of think, like, I would say keep it to like open board, and then switch it to be like, okay, well, what if it wasn't open board? What if it's close quarters? And like kind of keep it agnostic to ITD versus Team World, whatever. But like think about those generic principles, and think what your strategy would be. So let's say I go, I reckon I'll probably do Plant Banner. Does that team have anything that's going to like mess that up? And again, like for the patrons, I put that list of questions in the Patreon, of like things you should know about an opposing team. Like run through that list, right? Like it's kind of why it's there as a resource. So like start running through that list and be like, okay, like does this, like, do they have this? Do they have this? Do they have this? How would that change my operative selection? How would that change my equipment selection? How would that change my tac op selection? Like, do they have a team which is basically entirely ignores obscurity? Are smoke grenades worth it there? Probably not. Like, if my default is smoke grenades, let's think about how I'm going to change that instead. Do they have access to a lot of seek light? Do I think about heavy barricades? That's going to be map dependent, but maybe that's what I need to consider. And just basically go through that list and just think, how am I going to bring this operative or bring this game plan to this operative? So again, I'm using Deathwatch as an example because they're really popular at the moment, and it's what I'm thinking about. But let's say against Blades of Cain. So I was doing this exact analysis against Blades of Cain a little while back. And before I did this analysis, I would have told you that Aegis is an auto-include, right? So being a 2-up save, ignoring piercing, all that sort of stuff, that's just so good. But actually, like, when I was thinking about the matchup, I was like, I reckon they're going to run a lot of Banshees. And I think they're going to crit me, fall back, and shoot me. And actually, the Aegis doesn't do much in that matchup. Whereas like the Blade Master, with a pre-parry, well, I might be able to keep them in melee. Well, unless they roll 2 crits, then I can pre-parry their crit, and now they can't do their shenanigans. And I'm like, that's pretty good. And I have the ability to ignore hit modifiers, so Banshees don't hit me as well. So I'm not hitting on 4s anymore. So maybe actually in that matchup, I take the Blade Master over the Aegis, right? Like, because I'm reading their rules and I'm like, how does this team play? What's the gotchas and that sort of stuff, right? So you can do that as your, like, I think, pre-reading and that sort of stuff. And you use the app to be able to understand it. What's their archetypes? How do they play? And then I consider I recommend personally just listening to various Kill Team content. If you're in the car, whatever, I listen to a variety of Kill Team content. I really like interviews with players and that sort of stuff, and it's something that I need to do more of myself. But let's say you listen to just another Kill Team podcast, whatever, and they're interviewing Ace, and he's talking about Blades of Cain. Then you can go, oh, okay, like I've read about Blades of Cain, and I'm going to listen to that matchup, might make some notes, and then I'm going to consider that when I go into my games, right? Sadly, outside of those things, I'm not sure there's too much more you can do to prepare without having more time available, and that's entirely like down to your personal circumstances. But as I said, if you practice with purpose and you like track what you do, so you make notes and you try and make sure you're effective with your data keeping, then you can probably inform the research that you need to do outside of when you don't have the time to do it, and research it by using the app and using the content creators that have done some of the detailed interviews and that sort of stuff, and just understand how different people play things is what I'd suggest. That's kind of what I've got. Hopefully that's useful, and hopefully that answers the question to what you need. And if not, drop another Patreon priority question, and I'll answer it better. That is it for the Metawatch this week. Hopefully you found it useful. If you did, and you got something out of it, just drop us a like, it'd be much appreciated. Or if you think there's something that we missed or something got wrong, drop a comment. Or if there's something that you think is interesting happening in your meta, like let us know about it, right? Like I do read and reply to pretty much all the comments. I don't think I've ever missed one. So I try to keep up to date with what's going on in the Kill Team community. So use that comment box, as I said. Like it's there to start those conversations and hopefully keep me better informed, and maybe find out more about what your community does or whatever. So yeah, that's it, and I will end it there so it's not too long an episode, and I'll see you all next week. Take it easy.
That brings us to the end of the episode. Hopefully you found something new or useful while listening, and if you did, throwing us a like would be greatly appreciated. If you want to make sure you don't miss any episodes, make sure you hit that subscribe button and click on the bell so you get notifications as soon as the next one drops. It really is the best way to help a small channel like ours. And if you can't wait and you do want early access, we have a Patreon where you can get exclusive access to all our content ahead of time. As always, we'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback. Just drop a comment below and we'll get right to you. Thank you so much for listening. I'm your host Ryan, this has been Turning Point Tactics, and we'll see you next week.